On this episode of the Press Rewind Prince Lyrics podcast, we're covering another original Prince guide vocal version of a song he wrote for another artist. The artist in this case was Nona Hendryx, and the single is Baby Go-Go. Prince used the pseudonym Joey Coco for his writing credit on this track. Basic tracking of Baby Go-Go took place in June of 1986 at Sunset Sound Studios in Hollywood, California. Nona Hendryx recorded her version with her own musicians in early 1987, and her version was included on her fifth album, Female Trouble, which was released in April of 1987. Both Mavis Staples and George Clinton are credited with background vocals on Nona's version, which is interesting as both musicians would soon work with Prince on Graffiti Bridge. There isn't a lot of other background information to share about this song. Not a lot of information is really known about Prince's intent to write and record this song. Was it intended for another artist? Did he just write it with, hopes that it would eventually go to a female artist that he would work with in the future? Sheena Easton, maybe Sheila E., Jill Jones. Who knows, really? I don't think there's any concrete evidence that this was identified for a specific artist, because there is no, unlike the previous episode where I did If I Could Get Your Attention, where there's a version of the song sung by Jill before it was ultimately given to Taja Savelle, and of course then Maite later in the 90s. This one doesn't have that kind of convoluted history. So without a lot of additional background, I think this might potentially be a shorter episode. I mean, even the Prince Vault entry for Baby Go-Go is extremely short. It mostly just focuses on the fact that this was a song that was recorded by Nona Hendryx. So let's get into the lyrics. Oh baby, what can I do? You know I can't dance unless it's me and you. This feeling is much too strong. You and me, we got to get it on. So in the first verse of the song, it seems like it's fairly generic. An "ooh baby, you're so hot and I'm so into you" type of song that Prince could write in his sleep. Not too dissimilar to songs that he would record and release on Sign of the Times, like Hot Thing or You Got the Look. It's a very similarly, themed song to those. I see you on the dance floor, and you've got me hot and bothered. You got me very interested. He's saying I can't dance unless it's me and you, and it's funny to hear him say that, because obviously Prince can dance extremely well. Lots of splits and spins in his repertoire, showing off his athleticism. But I guess coupled with the "unless it's me and you," that signifies that he's just explaining he's not into dancing with anyone else besides the person that he's got his eye on. Sort of like in that Careless Whisper line, "Never gonna dance again the way I danced with you." That's the kind of feeling I get. Is he's not saying he's unable to dance physically. It's more of, I don't really want to unless I can dance with you. And as a kind of over-exaggerated way to get this person's attention. The feeling is much too strong. You and me, we got to get it on. Okay. Again, not a whole lot to say about that. The chorus is quite a wordy chorus. Whenever I feel your body move, ooh baby, I lose my cool. Something about you I don't know makes me want to go. My naked body on the floor is all you really need to know. Whatever you do, just don't say no. Come on baby, go. Again, the chorus is basically saying the same thing as the first verse. The singer is hot and horny for the person that they're singing about. The song's chorus is about losing control, losing inhibitions. making the person want to go-go. And possibly this is a play on words for the term go-go dancers or go-go dancing, used to describe like nightclub dancers. That word would be employed by a club to entertain the crowds. Go-go dancing was popularized in the 60s in France at a bar called the Whiskey Go-Go. And they licensed their name to a West Hollywood club that also took on the name Whiskey A Go-Go in the 60s. So dancers at this time were at the Whiskey A Go-Go, whether it's in France or in Hollywood, were known to wear like these short fringe skirts and high boots. So that's kind of what became synonymous with go-go dancers and go-go dancing. It has, of course, evolved significantly since the 60s and becoming more risque. Some dancers going topless at some go-go dancing clubs, expanding it to men, and LGBTQ bars and clubs as well. So go-go dancing has evolved quite a bit, but this could be, and I don't know this for a fact because there really aren't a lot of other context clues to give us a confirmation of this, but it certainly could be a reference to go-go dancing and go-go dancers by, Prince adding "makes me want to go-go, come on baby go-go," and the song being called Baby Go-Go. So that's all I really have to say about that. Just wanted to plant that seed of information in the minds of the listeners, just in case they hadn't come up with that conclusion themselves. Although, go-go is not, depending on where you live and what kind of lifestyle you live, it may be something that you're very familiar with, or it just might have completely missed you entirely. I mean, if that's just not your style or your vibe is going to clubs and seeing dancers, and especially if you weren't in the scene in the 60s, and many of us weren't because we would have had to have been, adults at that time, or young adults at least. Nonetheless, that's kind of my little additional comment about the chorus and about the title of the song. It goes into verse 2 then. "Oh baby, I really like your look. When you lay your eyes on me, I'm hooked. I'm waiting to feel your touch, your body, your mind and soul. Is that too much? No." So more of the same. Again, I think this is going to be a fairly quick episode because the lyrics of Baby Go-Go, while the song is cool and fun and dancey, it's not a super deep song, and there aren't a lot of unique elements that kind of, provide insight into what what was going on in Prince's mind at the time, or even just who was he writing this about potentially. I think it's just a big question mark. I think for the most part, Prince was just writing another song in similar veins to other dance songs that he wrote that were about hot people having fun. That's really what I get from this song. They're eyeing each other up here in the second verse again. When you lay your eyes on me, he says, which kind of reminds me a bit of the title of that song, When I Lay My Hands on You, from the early 2000s. Eyes, hands, different body parts, of course, but the sentiment is fairly similar. And then after the second verse, we get the chorus again. "Whenever I feel your body move, ooh baby, I lose my cool. Something about you, I don't know, makes me want to go-go. My naked body's on the floor. Is all you really need to know. Whatever you do, just don't say no. Come on baby, go-go. It doesn't really matter when you're all alone. If you need a pretty lover, let me hear you say go-go." And in this chorus, there's some like echoed vocals or background vocals. You can hear, "In a man's world, I can hold my own, because I'm a super deaf specimen," which cracks me up because that's a total 80s phrase, very antiquated. Nobody uses the term deaf anymore to describe something or someone. And "You Need a Pretty Lover" kind of reminds me of the song "Pretty Man" from the bonus track off of Raven to the Joy Fantastic from 1999. So there's, some kind of humorous or just callbacks or call forwards to other things that he's done, and then just very time capsule-y lines like "super deaf specimen." 1986, that's the kind of language that was being used in 1986, but the term deaf didn't really make it much out of the late 80s, early 90s into our common lexicon. Yeah, so, okay, there's a lot more of the repeating of the same lines throughout the rest of the song, so I don't really think it's worth going through those again, but what I will do now at this point is review the entry for Baby Go-Go in the Parade and Sign of the Times Studio Sessions book. And this is an entry dated June 12th, 1986. Because of the lack of notice, Sunset Sound wasn't able to book his usual room, so Prince was placed in Studio 2 for a few days to record. The only new song from this session was Baby Go-Go, the type of song that Prince seems to have been able to record without a lot of work. But unlike many of his other songs, this one contains little depth. Yeah. References to James Brown's music in the lyrics are likely overlooked when the line that precedes it says, "Whenever I see your body move, ooh baby, I lose my cool. Something about you, I don't know, makes me want to go." Okay, yeah, so some James Brown reference. And that definitely makes sense in tracks. Live drums and cymbals, bass, guitar, and the Fairlight were all blended together for the track, and Prince was able to record his vocals quickly on top of the sparse musical bed. Parts of the background are similar to Another Lover, Hole in Your Head, which was set to be released as the next single from Parade. Status: Baby Go-Go was eventually re-recorded and released by Nona Hendryx on her 1987 Female Trouble album. Prince's version was not released during his lifetime, although he rehearsed it for the Sign of the Times tour in 1987. Okay. Yeah, so, again, very little entry, very short entry in the book, very short entry in Prince Vault, and a very short episode from me on this, because lyrically, fun song, but it's never going to be a personal favorite for that reason, for its simplicity. And again, he did he mined much better musical avenues for this type of song, these types of lyrics. For Hot Thing, and You Got the Look from Sign of the Times, and you could cite several dozen similarly written songs that Prince could do, again, like I said, in his sleep. And the book also alludes to it being just kind of one of those quick tossed off tracks. But hey, apparently it was certainly interesting enough to Nona Hendryx to re-record it. And I'm going to dig a little into how that relationship occurred. So, thankfully, there's a Diffuser article on Baby Go-Go and Nona Hendryx's involvement in that and meeting Prince. So I'm just going to kind of read that. I met Prince earlier in his career before he really became successful, Hendryx says. I was playing a club in Minneapolis called First Avenue, which we all know, where The Time always played, and Prince came to the show, so we talked afterwards. I guess the conversation sparked a casual friendship between the two, and enough for her to contemplate having him produce her 1987 album Female Trouble. In the end, however, Hendryx corralled her friend Dan Hartman to man the console when efforts to match up her schedule with Prince's proved futile. And so she talks about him not really having time. As you might expect, in 1987, Prince was pretty busy. Sign of the Times tour, the movie, just a lot going on, making albums for other artists like Jill Jones and Sheila E. And so apparently Prince told Nona Hendryx, "Let me write something for you, see how you feel about it, and I'll do as much production as I can." The composition provided by Prince was entitled Baby Go-Go, and while the songwriting credit may go to Joey Coco, there's no question as who penned it. Prince produced the basic track for Baby Go-Go in June of '86, after which Hendryx and Hartman sent back and forth the work they were doing on the vocals, which included a pair of remarkably high-profile backing vocalists. My friend Maeva Staples, I wanted her to be on it, which which is how Prince really got to know more about her, Hendryx recalls. So I guess according to this, we have Nona Hendryx to thank for Prince and Mavis Staples kind of connecting professionally. He worked on an album with her after that. And then George Clinton, who's a friend, I asked him to be on it also. It was really just people whose music I knew, loved, admired, and who I wanted to work with, and Prince was really into being a part of that collaboration. Alas, the collaboration between Prince and Hendryx, which wound up being a minor hit on both Billboard's R&B singles and Hot Dance Disco Club play charts, proved to be an isolated one. We were talking about working together again after Baby Go-Go, but he was so busy at the time because he had all of his other artists that he had signed to Paisley Park Records to work with. I didn't see him that often, but we stayed in touch. I saw him at clubs that we both go to, and there were times when he was in New York City and he would invite me to something he was doing or to a party. Okay. There's more to the article. All you got to do is just seek out, Diffuser, Baby Go-Go, and you can find the actual article. But it's all about kind of digging deep into different songs of Prince's. The title of the theme of this series was 365 Prince Songs in a Year. It was published in 2018, so 2 years after his passing. So check it out. Check out the Nona Hendryx version. Check out, of course, Prince's version, which I will all link to in the show notes. And I think that will do it for this episode. This has been the Press Rewind Prince Lyrics podcast. I've been your host, Jason Brenninger. You can find the show at pressrewind.net and on social media. And until next time, thank you very much. Goodbye.